Hello everyone and welcome to the GMS Magazine channel. I am Paco Garcia, your host, and this is the RPG A Day 2021 edition, a series of videos based on an initiative by Dave Chapman in which we talk about role-playing games every single day during the month of August. And today's theme is Trap. Traps have been pervasive throughout the history of role-playing games. Goodness, I remember the first time I found one. Oh my god, that is so many years ago. I feel incredibly old all of a sudden, and so many dungeons have gone by. It's amazing. I love it. Anyway, traps have been pervasive, and I remember the first one I ever encountered, in which my rogue, little halfling, playing AD&D, was going around. I had no idea what I was doing. It was one of the first games I had ever. My friends were a lot more experienced than I was, and to be honest, I think that they were enjoying just seeing me fooling around and doing stupid things that they never thought anybody would think of doing. Because, you know, when you play for the first few times, it's very easy to just do stupid things thinking that you can do anything. So there we were, going around in this dungeon. I can't remember what game we were playing, what adventure we were playing, any of, a number. And there you go. And the GM, Fernando, is, roll to see if you can find any traps. Traps, interesting. No, I can't see any wires, anything, so I must be good. So there I go, stepping on a boulder on a tire that sounds like click. We all looked at each other and said, what? He said, you just fall onto a pit, so roll your dexterity and then roll your damage. And then I was skewered by a few spikes all over the place, and it was like, ow, that why did it happen? Why did it look? So it was, looking back, it's quite funny. At the time, probably wasn't all that fun, because characters were quite fragile at the time, especially rogues and wizards, so it was a bit okay, maybe this is not a healthy thing to fall into. So they can be a bit of a double-edged sword, traps, because they are so much fun when they're done properly. If you create a whole scenario based on just traps, there are going to be no enemies. The whole thing is trapped, because it makes sense. It makes a lot more sense that people design tombs and dungeons and mausoleums with traps than designing them with enemies, with living things, because why would they even be there in the first place? I don't know. I don't know. And if they were there, why wouldn't they trigger the traps in the first place? Did they know they were there? Traps that were maybe 4, 5, 7, 6, 800 years old, 1,000 years old, they would know. So they're quite fun and interesting, but I think you have to be very careful in how you mix them and how you put them in place, and they are congruent. Because otherwise, it's like, why would I even have a trap? Why would it still be untriggered? Makes, no sense. Like, none at all. Why bother? So I think that is one thing about traps that we need to keep in mind. But as a tool, don't get me wrong, they've been used time and time again. But now there is a book published that looks very good with plenty of traps in it and ways to use them differently. So have a go at them. But what I'm going to suggest that you do before you turn off the video and we go on to the next one is, why don't you try them in different games? Why? Traps are very typical in kind of medieval fantasy. But what about in science fiction games? Can you imagine in a science fiction game? I think it would make perfect sense for an astronaut not be looking for a trigger wire. Because why would they? It's science fiction thing. It's high tech. Well, maybe they wouldn't be looking for low tech. You know, maybe they wouldn't be looking for wax candles, something like that. So it could be interesting. Maybe, you know, how have you used traps? I would love to know that. How have you used your traps in a different manner? How? Let me know. Comments down there. I'll talk to you tomorrow.